Alright, welcome back to chapter 2.3, where we're going to discuss section views. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a section view is, go Google it, or use your favorite search engine, whatever you want, to look up section views. There are multiple different types, but for right now, we're just going to stick with the default standard section view, which is where you cut a part right down the center to view to see what's inside. So, before we do that though, let's talk about one perfect website for everyone. If you ever need help with SketchUp, either the free version or the pro version, go on the SketchUp forums. Just go to your favorite search engine, type in SketchUp forums, go create an account, and within minutes you'll have answers to your questions. They're very helpful. I've been on there for about a year. There's just tons of information. YouTube is the second source that I go to for help. So SketchUp forums and YouTube. You'll find all the answers you ever need. Okay, so kind of review. Let's show what we have. We have our scenes up here. We have our default scene. We have our top, our front, our right, our section, our ISO, and our view A. Now notice on the section I have it set to a different style. I have it set to construction document style. Reason why is because when we do our hatch marks for our section view, they don't show up on hidden line, because if we go up to this hidden line right here, it says edges and face colors are all hidden. So we don't want that. So, first thing that we do is we click on section, and then we're going to click on construction document style. And now, let me show you what a section view is. Now remember, in our outliner we have this base that's just hidden back here. So we go up here to our section plane. This is what the toolbox looks like. It's also right here in our large toolbox. If you do not have this up here, just right click somewhere and it will bring up all your available toolboxes we can put up here. So go down to section and click it if there's no check mark. So once you have this and you have found it, click the section plane. It's going to say the name section 21. Yours is probably going to say section 1 with symbol 1. So I'm going to make mine match yours. Section 1, symbol 1. And you're going to hit place. We're going to place it right here on the green. So notice the little number 1. First thing you're going to notice, if you zoom out, look how long that is. That's because right here, hidden, is our base. So it's also doing a section cut of that. We don't want that. We want, and if you look at outliner, notice how it's encompassing everything. We want our section to be inside the block. So what do? We come up to our block, double click it to be in component editing, and now we grab our section plane and click on it. Now in SketchUp Pro 2018 and above, it automatically does this section fill with a color. We don't want a color, we want hatch marks. It won't let us do that, so we have to do, I found a workaround. I discovered it one day because I was just very frustrated. In 2017 and below, this section fill does not exist. Now the section fill is actually very good when you're doing floor plans, so I'm not knocking it at all. I really like it when I'm doing floor plans, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. This is what yours should look like. You can see inside your hollow part. Even though our part is a solid, it's still hollow on the inside. It's just welded together so it can't leak. So what we need to do to move this section viewer, you're going to click on it and hit the M tool for move, and you're just going to move it to where you want. I'm going to put it right there. I'm going to hit the space bar. Notice our section 2121 is inside our block. I'm going to right click, create group from slice. Okay. Now you'll notice these lines went super thick. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and delete this section. So what did we actually do? Well, where those lines were, you'll see these lines right here now, of the faces, it actually took that face and copied it and pasted it and made its own group, but we can't see it. If we try to hide the block, it hides everything. So the best practice is to select the group, hit the move tool, click it, click the left arrow to force it along the green, and then move it. I'm going to move it 3 inches. So remember that number 3. Okay. So hit the space bar. Now what we're going to want to do is get into a view where we can just see one of these lines. You're going to right click and you're going to hit explode. Notice they're empty, they're not complete surfaces. So we need to weld them together. So if you just take a pencil, the line tool, and just draw up a little bit, you'll notice how they're now surfaces. So triple click, hold control, triple click, right click, make component, call it hatchmarks. Hit enter. Now you'll notice inside your outliner, under block, it has another component called hatchmarks. Now is the time to give them the hatching. Hit the paint bucket tool. Go to here for your options and go to patterns. This is where we can find tons of them. Some of them are mislabeled. For example, this aluminum one, that is not what the hatching for aluminum looks like. That's actually rubber in some programs. The one I use is this checker plate. And we're going to click there. But notice how large that is. So go to edit. It's spacing it every 10 inches. We don't want that. So we're going to hit 1 inch. Hit enter. And just hit this select arrow to get outside of this. So I think that to me looks really good. Is it on the other side? Yep. Okay. So we're good. Hit the M tool. Click here. Click the left arrow to force it along green. Move it back slightly and type in 3. It's going to put it exactly back to where we were. Hit the space bar. Now, if you click out of here, remember we're outside of the component level now. We need to be back inside component. Okay, but there's one other trick we have to do. This hatch marks, if we go to the top, notice this line is here. It's in every single scene. We have to change that. If we try to hide it and then update the scene, it'll hide it in all of them. So we have to be a little bit smarter than the program. And we're going to go down to something called layers. And we're going to put those hatch marks on their own layer. So you're going to click this, hit add new, and you're going to type in hatch marks. I already have hatch marks created, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that extra layer I made. Layer 0 is the default. Do always work in layer 0. Never work in your other layers. So what a layer is you'll notice things that are visible. See, you cannot hide this layer because it's the active layer. You never want to hide layer 0. So anything that's in hatch marks, if we click visible, it's going to hide it. But we haven't assigned anything to that yet. So let's go ahead, click on hatch marks, go up to entity info, click that down arrow and hit hatch marks. Okay, we're done. Now watch this. If you click this, it turns it off and on. So we're going to leave that right there just for a second. So let's finish making our section view. So double click to get inside component. Make sure you're still on section. Go to section plane. I'm going to call it section cut of block. My symbol, I'm just going to call it 747 for good luck. Put it right here, and you'll notice that since it is hollow, but right here we're going to run into those faces. Go ahead and click that, and just move it until it's either just right barely on top of it. Okay. Now adjust your view to the front. Zoom in. We're perfect. Now, we could have moved it. Notice how we're not exactly on, but since we're going to the front view, okay, Control-Shift-E. Since we're exactly on the front with perspective turned off, you can turn it back on if you want, but I like parallel projection. Let's get this in a better position. Right there. Now you can see our hatch marks. So we're going to click outside the component, but we see this box now. Sometimes this gets turned on and we're just like, no. So make sure section fill is off. And you can also turn off display section planes. Okay, perfect. So right now we're going to go ahead and right click and hit update. Everything is updated. Okay. Now comes the important part. If we go to ISO view, okay, notice we turned off the hatch marks in this view. But if we go to the front view, they're actually still off. Interesting. Okay. Did it turn them off in this view? It did. So I guess when we turned it off and then updated it, this one scene, because it updates all the scene, it updated, it turned off hatch marks to be visible. But what I'm going to do is turn them all back on. So hold on just a second. Okay, so they're all back on, and the reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to show you, except front view, we don't need to worry about it, how to do this all at once to turn them off. So let's go to section view, make sure everything is still good. Now do not turn it off in section view, or then we'll lose our hatch marks. So what you're going to want to do, I'm going to save it. So let's hope I do this correctly. I'm going to want to go to our scenes. I'm going to click on View A. Okay. Now, I'm going to uncheck visibility right here. Okay. Now I'm going to click on Scene A. And where's my little up arrow? Whoops, sorry. And all the scenes that I don't want that hatch marks to be visible, I'm going to Control click. So I don't want it in ISO. I don't want it in right. I don't want it in the front or the top. Then I'm going to right click right here and hit Update Scenes. Now this is important. Uncheck Camera Location. Make sure Visible Layers is hidden. Now if we leave Camera Location checked, it's going to update all my scenes to this view that we're currently at. So I'm going to hit Update. Okay. Now that should have worked. I am hoping it worked. So I'm going to hit Default. Okay, it's still visible there. Top. Our camera is just fine. It's not visible. Our front, it's not visible, and it's in the correct position. Our right, perfect. Our section, perfect. Our ISO, and then View A. Perfect. Everything is exactly set to the way we want it. So, that is the easiest way to do hatch marks and section drawings. Now, back on the section drawing. I'm just going to rotate it. I'm not going to update the scene. But what I'm going to do is show you what happens if I select this hidden line style. All of a sudden this fill comes back on, and if I turn it off, our hatch marks disappear. That's because hidden lines do not show that. So I'm going to go back to construction, turn that off, and they reappear. So click on the right, click on the section. I didn't update it, so it didn't override it. So just remember that little tip. Anyway, excuse me. This video is now done. So next video we're going to actually jump into layout and start doing paper space. We've set up all our scenes for our views. So we're almost there. Now remember what our main goal is. We are trying to create this. We have our top, our front, our right, our view A, and an isometric view. We're not doing this one. We're going to replace this one with a section view. So that is what our main goal is. Alright, well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.